Theresa May slaps down Boris Johnson over dramatic Brexit outburst, saying she is driving talks with the EU, but at least Trump is pleased to see him. Theresa May slapped down Boris Johnson over his Brexit outburst today, but made clear he will not be sacked. The Prime Minister said Boris is Boris, as she insisted she, not the Foreign Secretary, is in charge of negotiations with the EU. The comments came as Mr. Johnson met U.S. President Donald Trump at the UN in New York this afternoon. Mr. Johnson is facing a fresh backlash after his article that threw cabinet divisions into the spotlight once again. Defense Minister Tobias Ellwood was among those criticizing Mr. Johnson, while he has also only received limited support from fellow Brexiteers. Gove cautioned against her fighting the referendum, but also suggested a reference by Mr. Johnson to claims about £350 million weekly contributions to the EU had been misinterpreted. The Prime Minister and Mr. Johnson have not spoken since the bombshell article in the Daily Telegraph emerged on Friday night. They are expected to have showdown face-to-face talks in New York later, where they are both attending the UN General Assembly. Mr. Johnson's intervention has been widely seen as an effort to force a harder Brexit. Asked about the row as she traveled to Canada en route to New York today, Mrs. May said, "Look, Boris is Boris. I am clear that what the government is doing, and what the cabinet is agreed on, is that what we base our future negotiations on, as we have done, are the principles laid out at Lancaster House." Mrs. May also refused to say that money saved in contributions to the EU can be redirected to the NHS. By definition, if we're currently paying money into the EU and at the point in the future we won't be paying that money into the EU, of course we will have to decide how to spend that money, she said. At that time, as a government, we will look to see how it is appropriate and best to spend that money. That will be a decision taken at the time,